Did Houston give James Harden too much power? Maybe. Did James Harden abuse that power? Probably. But the fact of the matter is that the Houston Rockets did not give James Harden enough to win championships. And what I mean by that is it's not that Chris Paul, who's a Hall of Fame player, wasn't good enough. It wasn't that Russell Westbrook, another Hall of Fame player, wasn't good enough. The fact of the matter is that James Harden, even though he's listed as a shooting guard, he's a natural point guard in the style of play that he has. He needs the ball in his hand. He is not a very good off the ball player. It is not his game. What James Harden needs to do is he's got to have the ball. He's got to be the one scoring. He's got to be the one making an assist. So what they needed was they needed scorers. They needed people who could shoot. They needed players who could play really well off the ball. And Chris Paul is a natural point guard. Russell Westbrook also is a guy who could have been a shooting guard in some respects, because he plays like an Allen Iverson. And Allen Iverson could also play the shooting guard position. But I also believe that Russell Westbrook prefers the point guard position and dominates better as a point guard than he would as a shooting guard. But I honestly believe that the reason why we see Houston, even though they've been to the playoffs ever since James Harden has went there, what we see is James Harden. He's gassed out. He's totally gassed out in the playoffs because he goes all out in the regular season. He's not the same player, and I think that's a lot to do with how he plays in the regular season. He's tired of it because he's like, look, man, I'm balling out. I'm doing this. I'm doing that, and you guys aren't giving the right players around me. These guys are great players. Russell Westbrook, great player. Chris Paul, great player. Dwight Howard was somebody who was on the interior side. They signed him for some time. But the fact of the matter is that he needed shooters. He needed scorers of the basketball, players who were really well off the ball where he could assist. Because when you look at his assist records, we're talking about 11-2, 8-8, 7-5, 7-5. This guy is a stat machine. You got to give James Harden real scores, not just people. And I know that they kind of did that in a way, but and all of them are pros. All of them are good. Trevor Ariza, all those guys are really solid NBA players. But I believe he needed another star on the team that could really perform well, or other stars on the team where he could just throw the ball to and have them score. That way, James Harden could be a player who could be effective and potentially do some damage in the playoffs. The fact of the matter is that James Harden, he's gassed out, and he's not the same player in the playoffs. Secondly, they're not giving him the right players. And thirdly, I have to add what James Harden is doing when it comes to showing up overweight is not the best way to do it. I don't believe he's handling it the best way. But it is, I believe, in response to how he believes that the Houston Rockets, even though they quote unquote gave him everything, they didn't give him everything because they didn't really give him the players he needed to win. So that's Tim's take. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a blessed day.